incredible. We need your help.
Showtime.
The full patch notes and changelog for Stellaris patch 3.7 is now out. We're going to go through them all and find out all of the changes coming with this latest edition of Stellaris. Not only does it include all of the changes coming with the new Stellaris First Contact DLC, but every change coming with the free Custodians update that is coming out very, very soon. In fact, it's coming out on the 14th of March, which is now next Tuesday. This is going to be a relatively long video. It is quite a long patch notes, and we are going through every single change. So make sure you have a hot beverage or a cold beverage, basically something to keep you hydrated, possibly a snack, and let's sit down, dive in, and find out what on earth is going on with Stellaris. The changelog opens up with First Contact and every change we're going to get with the DLC specifically. These include the 3 new origins you've probably heard quite a bit about already. First off being Payback. Your civilization was invaded by and then repelled an advanced invader from the stars. With access to their technology, your empire is now ready to enter the galactic stage and find out just what else is out there. This one I think is the origin I'm most looking forward to trying. This one does allow you to do some funky things. It is kind of inspired by Independence Day, possibly a bit of XCOM in there as well. And yeah, it's going to allow us to really fulfill some of those Independence Day tropes that you might have been wanting to do and been unable to until now. Broken Shackles band together as the survivors of a crashed slaver ship and build a diverse empire with multiple species from across the galaxy. Embark on a quest to find your various homeworlds as long as you escape the prying eyes of your former captors. So this and Payback are 2 origins that are tied very much together by Minimar Specialized Industries, which is the big baddie of this DLC story pack. The final origin, which is separate to the previous 2, is Fear of the Dark. A portion of your planet has embraced isolationism and xenophobia ever since a planet in your system suffered an incident. Will you ignore their concerns and explore the stars, making friends along the way, or will you appease their isolationism in order to grow your civilization even more powerful? This one is quite an interesting one. It's kind of a genocidal civic / origin in disguise that will let you really go down the path to evil, the dark side, allowing you to completely give in to fear if you so choose. First Contact of course comes with quite a rework to primitives, and if you buy the DLC, you'll gain access to new pre-FTL interactions. Enhanced mechanics for observation and diplomacy, new espionage operations for infiltrating and uplifting pre-FTL targets, new stories, and new events. You'll also get a unique pre-FTL civilization, Renewable Society. We haven't seen the Renewable Society in any of the live streams so far, and that one does sound rather interesting. I'm excited to see what on earth it means. They've also, if you own Utopia and First Contact, added pre-FTL hive minds. Yes, you can now have hive mind primitive populations out there in your galaxy. Specifically, if you also own Necroids, Utopia and First Contact, and you decide to play with Necroid or Necrophage hive minds, your primitive planets will have hive mind primitives on them. That's a very confusing set of words there, but I think you understand what I'm saying. It will be pretty cool and definitely an upgrade for Necrophage hive minds that is sorely needed. Also, pre-FTL civilizations now have a small chance to spawn with one of the following origins. If you own Federations, they can spawn with Shattered Ring. If you own Utopia, they can spawn with Mechanist. If you own Apocalypse, they can spawn with Life Seeded. If you own the Aquatic Species pack, they can have Ocean Paradise, and if you have Overlord, they can be Subterranean. What this means is you might find primitives on, for example, a size 30 ocean world or on a Shattered Ring world, which makes a lot of sense and adds, in my opinion, quite a fun amount of theme and kind of a depth now to the game for pre-FTLs. Rather than just having them spawn always on planets, you'll now get them on normal empires, kind of. It's interesting to see that the pre-FTLs on Federation's end, the star system with 2 habitats with primitives on, does not get the Void Dweller origin if that ends up being uplifted or reaching full FTL status. I'm surprised that's not been added in here, but maybe that's an omission, or maybe they just haven't put it in there as one of the origins pre-FTLs can have. Primitives also now have the option of giving 12 new insight technologies, a new category of techs gained from observed pre-FTLs. Now they say 12 here, we've actually seen a total of 13 so far, so I find that number a little bit confusing. The majority of these insights are relatively mediocre from what we've seen, though a couple are absolutely amazing. Getting a base of plus half an alloy to every pop should not be underestimated. We're going to get some new civics allowing early jump drive based exploration at the cost of starting without the hyperdrive technology. It is the wet dream of many long-time Stellaris players to go back and enjoy a game where we had multiple methods of FTL from the start. This is a step slightly in that direction. The new civics are Eager Explorers, Private Exploration, probably the best one, which is the Hive Mind one, Stargazers, and Exploration Protocol. They've also added cloaking and cloaking detection with this DLC. Up to 10 levels of cloaking or cloaking detection, with smaller hulls being easier to cloak than larger ships. Although I've done the maths, you can quite comfortably get battleships up to level 8 cloaking or so without too much hassle. Military ships cannot be detected by normal sensors while cloaked, may ignore closed borders as long as they remain undetected, and can decloak to ambush hostile ships. From what the devs have said, as long as you are cloaked and not at war with your enemy, or not at war, sorry, with the civilization you're flying around in the middle of, you can ignore the FTL inhibitors. However, once you are at war, the FTL inhibitors will affect your cloaked ships, so you'll want to get your cloaked ships into position before the war starts. Science ships may cloak to explore beyond closed borders, gather intel from other empires' planets, and boost cloaking detection of a starbase. All of this does look to be quite interesting and will probably shake up the already very shaken up PvP meta yet further. That's something I'm definitely looking forward to observing. Last but by no means least from the First Contact DLC, we have 8 new achievements added. If you're enjoying this video and you'd like to get your hands on Stellaris First Contact, as well as supporting this channel, you can do so by following the link down in the description or the pinned comment and pre-ordering Stellaris First Contact from the Humble Bundle store. That should give you a Steam key that will allow you to play Stellaris First Contact when it releases. And if you use the affiliate link, a small proportion of your purchase will go towards also supporting this channel. With all of the DLC changes out of the way, we can start looking at the free changes you can look forward to even if you're not purchasing Stellaris First Contact. This is everything that will be coming with patch 3.7. There are many changes and additions that we're going to get. The Archaeotechnologies feature has been added to the Ancient Relics DLC. All praise the Custodian team. Completed archaeology sites and precursor anomalies now have a chance to spawn minor artifact deposits. That means every month you're going to be able to generate minor artifacts. This is a massive paradigm shift, but of course we now need more things to spend those minor artifacts on. Enter Archaeotechnology. A new branch of society research has been created with new technologies revolving around the study and use of minor artifacts to create unique ship components, starbase modules, and planetary buildings. Some of these are very powerful indeed. Several archaeology sites also now reward you with rare archaeotechnologies. Completing the secrets of a special precursor project will also reward you with unique technologies and I believe a special building. Some of those buildings, for instance like the Zroni Stormcaster or the First League Filing Office, are absolutely insane. They are not Empire unique, they are really good. I can't see them not being nerfed though, honestly. They're really good. they've added the Archeo Engineer's Ascension perk, which allows you to make the most out of your Archeo technologies. All Archeo or artifact weapons become more powerful, all defenses on your ship become better, and each of the special buildings will get a small bonus of one sort or another. They've adjusted the price of minor artifact decisions and actions, so everything is now a bit more expensive. However, it's not that much more expensive given you could see a steady supply of a few minor artifacts coming in every month, even from the very beginning of the game. As part of this adjustment, the Rubricator now grants 500 minor artifacts, and the Remnants Origin will start you with a Faculty of Archeo Studies, which is a building that replaces an original science lab. This grants you a number of special researcher type jobs that also generate minor artifacts, and given that it's on a relic world, it grants you a massive bonus to the research speed of Archeo technologies. Really, it's like 150% or something balmy. The amount of minor artifact you can have in your store is now capped, and is also possible to trade minor artifacts with other empires. You cannot sell them on a galactic stock exchange yet, which is somewhat upsetting, though that would mean if you could do that, they'd have to remove the decision where you sell minor artifacts to private collectors. However, it would kind of help with the Hives and other Gestalt consciousness empires that do not have the option of selling their minor artifacts in order to get cash. Even if you do not buy First Contact, there are a whole host of primitive and pre-FTL changes coming with the free update. Various pre-FTL civilization changes and additions have been made. Pre-FTL civilization tech and awareness is a new system that has been added. Technology progression has now been standardized and is visible on the UI. Awareness is gained through a variety of actions, such as a space battle in the system with the Primitive Empire or blowing up the pre-FTL's moon. Once awareness reaches the maximum level, the pre-FTLs will contact the observing nation and say, "Oi, we can see you." Pre-FTL civilizations will also spawn with a random amount of technological progress in their current age. Early space age civilizations are capped at having a maximum of 50% progress and thus at least 20 years away from achieving FTL tech. This is in line with previous iterations of the game where the pre-FTL primitives could not achieve full FTL status in the first 25 years. Passive and aggressive observation now gives 50% less resources than before. However, their output increases by 10% for every 10 infiltration level your spy network has on the pre-FTL civilization being observed. This is up to a maximum of 150% resources at 100 infiltration. And given the very low tech of the primitives, you should have a massive advantage when it comes to comparing your decryption versus the encryption of these possibly Stone Age primitives. So getting all the way up to that 100 shouldn't be that much of a challenge. Pre-FTL civilizations that are enlightened by another empire and did not have a unique origin will now be granted the Enlightened Origin. This has been changed from doing nothing to now giving 0.5 monthly loyalty and 10% additional research speed. And it allows them to become specialist subjects, as long as you have the Overlord DLC, regardless of any technological disparity with their Overlord. This means that enlightening a primitive can have very positive consequences for your empire, and you don't end up with a crappy protectorate that you can't really do anything with. The old foes pre-FTL civilizations now have the post-apocalyptic origin and the survivor trait. I believe that's locked behind Utopia, but from this patch note it isn't saying that it is, as far as I can see, so perhaps it isn't. Anyway, the old foes are those two Tomb World civilizations, one being, I want to say the Karin or the Sarin or something like that. They look like the Klingons basically. I think it's something of a Klingon reference here. There are two Bronze Age civilizations that nuked each other back into the Stone Age, or proverbially the Bronze Age, I suppose. But that now will start with post-apocalyptic. Additionally, pre-FTL civilizations display the developing civilization origin if they do not have a unique origin. Pre-FTL civilizations now change their authority whenever they advance a technological age. This should be referring to their government authority type, which means that when you see them on the diplomacy screen, they will change their government system as they go from Stone Age to Bronze to Iron all the way through up to their early Space Age. They've also added a pre-FTL Deneb system. Now I believe this means you can find pre-FTL humans And in essence, I would assume the story here is that, well, the colony ship arrived, but they have devolved into a level of civilization well below that of the colony ship that first arrived there. This is, of course, referring to the Commonwealth of Man Empire that can spawn out there in the galaxy. Pre-FTL observation missions and event change have been reworked and improved, and this is a feature coming with the free patch. You don't need the DLC to get these new observation missions and event chains, which is quite interesting. They've reworked how pre-sapient life is spawned in the galaxy as well. Pre-sapient species are now generated on galaxy generation instead of being spawned by an anomaly. There is a 5% chance for habitable planets to have a pre-sapient species present. That should mean that 1 in every 20 planets out there in the universe has pre-sapients on it, which is a drastically higher number than before. However, as you'll see later on, they have nerfed pre-sapients just a little bit. This can be increased by the pre-FTL civilization and pre-sapient species galaxy generation slider, because they've now increased or changed how that slider works. They've implemented new trait icons for pre-sapient traits, and if you started as a necrophage hive mind, you own First Contact, and you also own Utopia and of course Necroids, you'll now get your guaranteed pre-FTL worlds with hive-minded pops on, which is pretty good, as I've mentioned earlier. Alien zoos have been reworked quite a bit. They've replaced an entertainer job with a new zookeeper job, providing society research and amenities. You can now keep livestock slaves in your alien zoos. Alien zoos on planets with pre-sapients and with the preserve policy selected provide conserved fauna jobs, providing additional amenities. If the Empire instead has the warrior culture civics selected, these are then swapped for gladiatorial beasts. They have apparently allowed the pop-stealing bombardment stance if you own First Contact or Apocalypse DLC. I assume you will still need to take the Civic or Ascension perk to do it, but it's nice now that they're branching out who can do it to more and more DLC owners. The Anniversary Portraits free DLC is also now part of the base game, so everybody can have that one, and they've added one new achievement. Also, probably very importantly if you're someone that ever gets stuck on the main menu background has been entirely updated. I've seen it, we have all seen it actually in one of the live streams, and it was absolutely beautiful. And if you're enjoying this video, please update that like button and make it better than ever before. Many improvements have also been made with patch 3.7. Toxoid species who wear clothes are now valid targets for scathing diplomatic insults about their fashion choices. I didn't know I needed this improvement until I read about it, and it sounds absolutely fantastic. With the new Tech Insight, the Satisfying Insults Tech Insight that grants you additional bonuses whenever you insult an empire, this is better than ever. They have added speed control shortcuts, shift plus up or down arrows. That is actually really nice for those of you that like using keyboard shortcuts, allowing you to go faster or slower without having to click in the top right corner of the screen. Assorted edits to the texts, which comprise the Old God events chains, have been made. The doctrines have been refined without disturbing their protective lacquer. Energy torpedo ship rolls will now only show up if you have the relevant technology, and that is of course the proton launcher or neutron launcher technologies. Mercenaries now offer you a chance to hire them before the Khan does, meaning that if the Khan spawns, you won't get the mercenaries, possibly in your capital system, immediately going over and joining the Khan and bombing the heck out of your planets and your systems. Players are now given the option to play as the demonic incursion. Wait a minute, let me just read that. Players are now given the option to play as the demonic incursion. Right. That's excellent. I'm 95% sure this is referring to one of the event chains you can go down if you have the portal to an alternate dimension on one of your planets. I'm pretty sure if I remember you can do the whole Doom guy thing and send someone into the Hell portal to close it up. But the fact you can now play as the demonic incursion, wow, that's awesome. That's an awesome little change. Rogue servitors now have the option to pacify space amoebas, which seems pretty reasonable, and automated colony designation has been improved, though it's still probably better to just pick it manually anyway. It would not be a Stellaris patch without a whole host of balance changes to shake up the meta just a little bit. What are these balance changes, I hear you ask? Well, don't fear, good sir or madam, we're about to find out. Overlord and vassal related changes. Enlightened empires can now become specialist subjects. Federation members are now excluded from taking part in independence wars between members of their federation unless they are supporting independence of one of the vassals rising up. This is a wonderful change that should go some way to improving the dynamics when you have federations with vassals inside of the federation. It was, up until this point, impossible pretty much for a vassal to rise up in an independence war against their overlord if they're in a federation with their overlord. And if the overlord had the right contract with the vassal, they'd have no choice but to be in that federation, making revolt impossible. This has been changed, and it's quite a spicy change that I'm very excited for. Vassals can now invite other vassals of their overlord in a joint independence war, even if they are all part of the same federation. That is pretty cool. They've also fixed a bug where vassals were not allowed to declare independence wars from their overlord if they were both part of the same federation due to their restricted diplomacy agreements. Basically, vassals now have more tools than before to get out of the contracts they're in if they don't like them. This is a very, very good thing as far as playability of the game is concerned, especially for players. All vassals who are fighting in a joint independence war will now become independent if they win, instead of only the empire who initiated the vote. I actually saw this in one of the PvP games that were hosted for for Montu Multiplayer Madness number 2, the second tournament I ran back in January. We had 6 or 7 vassals that all jointly declared an independence war against their overlord, but only one of them could actually become independent. It was kind of funny. The problem where Juggernauts and Star Eaters didn't have enough power to even run the basic ship designs they come with has now been fixed. They've added a new class of reactors for Juggernauts and Star Eaters, which have a construction and upkeep cost. This should, I believe, fix the issue where you had negative power from the start, and if you wanted to edit your Star Eater in any way, you'd actually have to make a worse ship than before you started because you would have less power at your disposal. Building an alien zoo in the spirit of scientific inquiry and preservation now pleases the Xenoist pop factions. This demand does not apply to empires with the warrior culture civic. Technologist faction demands to carry out science without borders may now also be satisfied when you establish a diplomatic means of technologically enlightening a pre-FTL civilization. Even though you're giving tech away and you're not really gaining much, I believe, unless they've worked in that by enlightening a pre-FTL you can somehow get some insights, but if so, I haven't seen that anywhere. Basically, the technologists now don't mind if you are not having science without borders, meaning you're gaining anything. They actually just care if there's kind of science being shared around. As an additional change for the Technologist Pop faction, they will no longer be disappointed when your empire joins one of the Holy Covenant federations. However, they remain pleased when you join a research federation. Similarly, Traditionalist Pop factions are no longer outraged when your empire joins a research federation, though they do still encourage membership of Holy Covenants. It says Traditionalist, I believe that means the Spiritualists, but hey ho. Religious scholars everywhere should rejoice. The disapproval you receive from traditionalist factions for having the flesh is strong go unfulfilled has been halved from -30% to -15%. In addition, they raise their complaints a little sooner upon completion of the Flesh is Weak special project. This does make quite a bit of sense, so a reasonable change here. And it's also nicer that they've reduced that penalty, so if you can do nothing about having a few cyborgs in your empire, it shouldn't completely tank the happiness of your largest faction if you are, say, spiritualist with maybe a touch of xenophilia, which would of course disable you from purging the unwanted pops in your empire. Xenoist factions are now satisfied by policies of non-interference or subtle interference in pre-FTL civilizations. These are two of the new interference policy types you can pick between. There is a third as well, I believe, when you're choosing your interactions with pre-FTL primitives. Defender of the Galaxy will now grant you +200 AI opinion instead of just +20. That should make befriending AI empires so easy now if you take this perk. In order to balance the fact they've now massively increased the rate of pre-sapient spawning in the galaxy, now 1 in every 20 planets will probably have pre-sapience on them. You only get 50 influence whenever you uplift pre-sapience. This is down from the massive 500 that used to be the case. A society research leader with the psychic or any chosen trait now increases the chance of drawing the psionics technology, meaning that if you can manage to get your hands on some of the racket pops, which are the trading pops that have psionic on them, this should massively increase your ability to roll psionics. They've reduced the spawn rate of the solar sailor anomaly, which used to spawn at least once in every game, and they've reduced this by about a third on uninhabitable planets. The subterfuge tradition now grants a 5 times weight modifier on drawing subterfuge related technologies. Not only does this include everything to do with espionage and spying, so all the technology surrounding encryption and decryption, but it also includes all of those cloaking technologies as well. So this is quite a buff to subterfuge tradition. It's not written here, but additionally, if you take subterfuge now and you have first contact, when you complete it, you will get +1 cloaking strength on all of your ships equipped with cloaking fields. The refinery planet and habitat designations now grant you a 20% bonus to refiners, translucers, chemists, and the like, and all strategic resource mining professions. This means if you manage to stack that with the massive bonus from the specialist's new archaeotech building that grants you a whopping +25% or +50% with archaeoengineers, you can get somewhere in the region of 60% before factoring in any other bonuses to your rare resource output, which is really quite strong. The default habitat designation now acts similarly to the default colony, providing stability and amenities whilst the habitat population is low. This should make managing habitats for newer players much easier, as amenities on habitats are very difficult to manage right at the start. They've also capped resource upkeep cost and production reduction modifiers to 90% for any given case, meaning you will no longer be able to have completely free upkeep on jobs which are meant to cost at least some upkeep. This basically means that you cannot max out the bonuses for things like ascending planets, for like reducing the cost of alloy metallurgist jobs to -100% and thus generating alloys from absolutely nothing anymore. This is actually something I proposed, though I think it was done internally. Please don't shoot me if you really like that little feature. I'm really sorry, everybody. But it's kind of good. I think that they are capping this. It wasn't intended in the beginning to be able to stack modifiers like this until our reductions went down to 0. I think the same is true from housing and amenities usage as well. Something that is really quite cool is that Juggernauts will now have the same maximum speed as battleships and Titans, so they will no longer be the slowest ship in your fleet. Gone will be the days where you're constantly waiting around for your Juggernaut to catch up with all of your ships when you're attempting to do something like kill the endgame crisis with big stacks of battleships and the like. This is a very nice improvement that's a great quality of life change. The only issue may be with the jump time reduction or hyperdrive charge up reduction times that Juggernauts get, they might actually move faster than the other ships system to system overall now, and therefore arrive first, which is definitely not something we want to have happen. The slingshot to the star's origin has been buffed. It now gives you 50% more accuracy with your quantum catapult, which is actually a hell of a lot of additional accuracy. On top of that, you no longer lose one of your guaranteed habitable planets with the slingshot to the star's origin. So basically, they've taken away the downsides of this origin and massively increased the upsides. Not only that, when you yeet a fleet, that's what they've technically defined that as in the text here. I kid you not, ladies and gentlemen, the Quantum Trebuchet officially yeets fleets. This will give you a 33% fire race called a Quantic Ambush modifier. This becomes a 50% increase to fire rate if you have the slingshot to the star's origin. This fire rate increase only lasts 120 days, but it is very powerful. When we couple that with the increase of accuracy to our quantum catapult, and the fact that we could just yeet a fleet into an adjacent system with 0 loss of accuracy, meaning it will not land in a different system than the specific one we choose, as long as we choose one very close by, this could actually be viable in PvP and absolutely terrifying. I'm imagining an empire where we don't have any regular technology. We are going with the new Civic that grants you the special jump drive-esque tech at the start of the game, the subspace drive, which is not a hyperdrive. So you'll have jump drives on all of your ships from day one. And then if you go with the Origin Quantum Catapult, you'll be able to yeet your fleet somewhere. And then if it is a little bit distracted and not quite caught up, you'll be able to jump drive it together into the correct system, which would be very, very powerful indeed. The Radioactive Flora event now gives you 3 pre-sapient pops. Refinery planets now give 15% and plus 10% if the galactic community resolutions are active. Now, interestingly, we did hear earlier that it grants you 20%. I'm a little confused which one to believe here, whether it's the 20 or the 15%, though I'm assuming it's this second one. By the time you read the dev diary, it may have been updated to have the correct written assessment here, but so far there is a bit of a conflict. I don't quite know. It's either 15 or 20. It's pretty similar though. The Remnant's origin now starts with the Archaeo Studies tech and building. This is the Faculty of Archaeo Studies, which is pretty darn good. The Spiritualist perk is now taken into account for the Bureaucracy designation. I don't quite know what that means, the Spiritualist perk. I assume that is a perk from the Spiritualist ethic they're talking about here, which is an increase in Unity output, probably, but I'm not entirely sure. Torpedoes are now a low tier 1 tech that requires fusion missiles, and thus fusion power as a prerequisite, instead of being a tier 2 technology. This should make torpedo technology easier than ever for you to get your hands on, and as it is one of the most powerful technologies in the game now, that is pretty good. They've changed the requirement for auto research to space exploration technology. I'm sorry, they've changed the requirement for auto research to the space exploration technology. Does that mean you now have to take a space exploration technology in order to be able to auto research? Or wow, that is a very low down requirement compared to needing a very late game tech as it was previously. So they've switched a number of Leviathans and their reanimated versions to line computers instead of artillery. This is something that I recommended in order to fix the bug where, or I say bug, the feature where you could, through some in-game mechanic manipulation, kill off your Leviathan, your dragon, if you took the dragon origin early on and then reanimate it to get a 100k worth of fleet-powered dragon right at the start of the game. Commercial pacts now give high economic intel on colonies, meaning it's easier than ever to know how good a colony is and do you want to establish a branch office there. The Seize Galatron Casus Belli is now unlocked the first time the Galatron is used instead of upon acquisition, so no one can seize it from you until you actually use it. We have seen so much in the way of AI improvements for Stellaris over the last few patches. Don't worry though, the AI is still improving. The AI will no longer overspend Unity on traditions. I didn't know it was doing that, I'm glad it won't anymore. The AI will no longer rent mercenary reinforcement fleets en route to the main fleet. The AI will no longer attempt to apply species templates with negative trait points. Yeah, they shouldn't have done that. That's a stupid. I'm glad they're not anymore. They fixed a bug for the AI where some game logic treated a fleet's final target as its current position while in FTL. I don't quite know what interaction that could have had, but that does sound rather worrying. They fixed a bug blocking the AI from selecting bombardment stances correctly, they fixed for incorrect weight for the bombardment policy, and they prevented the AI from trying to mod species it doesn't have. Darn it, the players can do that, why can't the AI? The AI will no longer clear blockers for no purpose whatsoever, and it will no longer assign all of its science ships to assisting archaeology rather than doing something like, assisting research. They've improved how the AI picks its civics, and the AI may now use unrestricted and Armageddon bombardments against crisis-occupied friendly planets. That is such a relief. Oh my goodness me, that really increases the speed at which it should kill the crisis. The AI now takes economic impact into account when computing acceptance, and it understands that Ranger Lodges produce Unity, which is a resource it needs. The AI personalities can specify roles to use for specific ship sizes. I didn't know that it couldn't do that. This is a good benefit that it can now do that. The AI with restricted voting capabilities can now always vote on an invite to war of independence against their own overlord from another vassal. This should increase how playable vassals are and how interesting they are in the game. AIs with environmentalist civics will no longer clear blockers that can be turned into nature preserves. They prevented the AI from updating species rights for a period of time after a player leaves a multiplayer session. This was a bane that was happening quite a lot in 3.6. A player would disconnect, you might not catch the disconnect in time, or in the hot join process or something, there was a brief moment where the AI would take over, and blam, they've set the species rights on all of your primary props to something like assimilating, and your economy is now in the gutter. Thank goodness that will be prevented to some degree. AIs with the environmentalist civic will no longer clear blockers that can be turned into nature preserves. Oh, I think I read that one. Never mind, we'll keep it in. They prevented the AI from using raiding bombardment when a planet is below 2 pops. That is good because that would empty the planet. Yeah, and also I'm not even sure it can capture the last 2 pops. So really that's just a bit pointless anyway, isn't it? The AI should now send military fleets to investigate special projects when needed. And necrophage hive minds will auto-set their invaded pops to be full citizens so they don't accidentally purge every planet they take. Thank goodness the AI is being improved, all praise the custodian team. Stability and performance should be better than ever with 3.7. They fixed a crash where older custom names contained certain special characters. That was apparently quite bad. They fixed an OOS related to fleet templates. Naughty naughty. They fixed crash in observer mode when switching to a non-crisis empire while the crisis view is open. I didn't even know that could happen, but that would be quite nasty. They fixed a crash when updating ambient object graphics. And they fixed an out of sync, or another OOS, when an envoy died at the same day a player hot joined. I did not know that was an issue, but goodness gracious me, yeah, there have been some hot joining issues so far. Thank goodness this one has been added and fixed. When it comes to performance, they've improved performance when merging fleets, and on some of the newer CPUs, you should see a bit of an uptick apparently. They've also fixed stuttering from zipped music files being played. I've not experienced this, but I can imagine it'd be quite awful because the music in the game is really fantastic. If everything, not just, I'm not sure if this is the game itself stuttering or just the music, either way that would have been really unpleasant. So as ever, hats off to the custodians, thanks for more fixes and more updates. We also have a whole host of UI changes. Some of these are real big quality of life changes that are going to affect different players at different player ability levels. So they've added options for displaying designation and planet type overlay icons for planet entries in the outliner. You can have either and or both now, which is pretty cool. They've added indicators for low stability and ongoing revolts to planets in the outliner. So now if a planet is revolting or has low stability, it will show you on the right hand side in the outliner. You won't have to search for it or click around. It should be much more obvious. They've also added overlay icons for habitats in the outliner. They've replaced the outliner planet low stability icon overlay with a status icon. They've updated the look of leader level icons in the outliner. I've seen these. This looks really nice. They did a live stream and showed off what the scientists look like. You can now see the level of leaders in the right hand side in the outliner, so you can see which science ship has what level leader on it, which is really helpful. Gateway sites and ruined gateways now show up in the outliner, as was previously promised under the Megastructures tab, but well, now we're getting it, which is great. Strikecraft now lists their engagement range in the tooltips, so we can actually see how far away our carriers should be engaging from, which is such a big benefit. Oh my goodness me, that is a very key piece of information we have not really known unless you go into the files themselves and have a look at all before. So very helpful, we can see that now. They have fixed lists in old UI elements, sometimes getting a longer scroll area than what is needed for the list content. The special values tooltip has been fixed because apparently it was appearing when hovering outside of elements below the special values field in the ship designer. Naughty naughty. They fixed the tooltip on the select ship role button in the ship designer being white rather than red when the button is disabled. They're now showing minor artifacts in the top bar. We've already heard about this, but this is quite cool. and they've added minor artifact income to the relics view. They fixed a portrait overlap in the first contact window. Some longer time measurements will now be displayed in larger units than days, thank goodness, because how on earth, like, you have to have a math degree, or no, you have to have a calculator even, to kind of sit there and work out, oh goodness, it's 2,462 days away, and this is not a regular calendar, so I can't just divide by 365, I have to divide by 360 because we have 12 30-day months. Yikes, alright. This is just, honestly, it's just quite a nice quality of life improvement. They fixed the Align Planet View rename button to match the name text. Fixed the black or white square appearing in the ship appearance menu. I've not seen that, but that sounds like a problem. They've made background for diplomatic view status UI sections not draw over certain icons. They've improved the description of the mouse side button accessibility option. They fixed the select ship roll button in the ship designer not showing its tooltip when hovered, which I didn't even know there was a tooltip, so that's pretty helpful there. They fixed the tooltip on locked building slots not explaining which district type to build in order to get more slots unless some districts were already constructed. They fixed inaccurate tooltip for too many components of one type. Right-clicking a quantum catapult with fleet selected orders them to enter its orbit instead of showing a menu with an unusable button. That is quite a nice, helpful improvement. They fixed wide species portraits clipping in some UIs. The Army UI will no longer immediately update its information when a new general is assigned to a transport fleet. They've apparently fixed the UI not updating when selecting an empire in the drop-down in the diplomacy view. Didn't realize it didn't do that, but yeah, that would be bad if it didn't. They fixed icons being shown in the diplomacy view for casus belli that should be hidden. They fixed certain climate preferences not being shown in empire creation, and finally, they fixed certain windows, i.e. ship orders, being too small compared to the sprite tiling, which was apparently causing graphical bugs. I'm not going to go through every single bug fix that's been included because honestly that list is massive and really you don't need to know. I'm only going to go through the ones which I think are rather important to you as players. First and foremost amongst these is they fixed one instance, not every instance, but one instance of fleets becoming stuck in a one-sided battle where only one side is dealing damage to the other, i.e. the invincible fleet bug. This is a massive step in the right direction, all praise to the custodians. They fixed the bug where two leaders sometimes become assigned to the same fleet after a merge. That one has caused me no end of trouble where I've ended up having to hire extra leaders, not realizing that some of my leaders are actually free. This definitely happens in the late game when you have too many fleets to really manage, and crikey, yeah, it gets just too annoying. They fixed synthetically ascended empires not being able to assimilate machine pops. Yes, you heard me correctly. Synthetically ascended empires should be able to assimilate all machine pops. So once you synthetically ascend, you can steal the hive mind pops of rogue servitor empires. Boom. That is amazing. They fixed pops sometimes being shown as declining if it has stopped declining. This is a bug that I've seen a few times happening, and it's honestly just a nightmare. Also, the Brain Slug event now correctly has pre-sapient reptilians on the planet. Yep, when you go through the Brain Slug event chain, it claimed there were pre-sapient reptilians on the planet. The pre-sapient reptilians didn't exist, and this completely has thrown my immersion for the game in every campaign I've ever run. You can take my word for it, I'm definitely not lying. No, I'm being a bit facetious here, but honestly, it's quite a nice improvement to have where the event text will now match up more closely with in-game mechanics. They've also apparently fixed an issue with mercenary fleets not reinforcing and upgrading correctly. Possibly, if this is what has been keeping mercenary fleets with the crappy designs we've seen in games, they might now be more powerful than ever before, so do keep an eye out for mercenary fleets in patch 3.7. The nuked Sol system should no longer spawn when you are playing with a Sol start. This means your immersion should not be broken when you find a second Sol out there in the universe, but you already have your own. This happened recently to me in the Timelines game in Season 2, and it wasn't intentional, but it was absolutely wonderful as a plot point. However, that won't happen anymore, thank goodness. Planetary automation and sector automation should once again upgrade capital buildings. Goodness gracious me, it was terrible when that wasn't happening. they've adjusted ship behaviors for carriers and torpedo ships. This is important for the combat meta, so carriers should now be better at remaining at maximum range, and torpedo ships should be willing to get closer to their enemies. This might shift the meta just a little bit. I will not be going through all of the modding changes at all. I'm sorry, modders, but you are a niche community, or a minority I should say, and for that reason, if you want to find out about all of the pages of modding changes that are coming, go and read the patch notes. You probably already read the patch notes if you're a modder, so yeah, you really don't need me to read those out for those non-modders amongst you. The DLC First Contact and patch 3.7 should be coming out very, very soon. Tuesday the 14th of March to be precise, which is very, very soon. What are you going to be trying first in this latest edition of Stellaris? Let me know down in the comments below. Now onto something slightly on the personal side. I want to thank everybody, and I really do mean everybody, that commented congratulations and support very recently, actually last week in fact, when my son was born. Sorry, one of my eggs hatched. The translation unit keeps going funky here. Yeah, it does mean quite a lot, everybody, for you all reaching out with your congratulations and support. Thank you very much. This is actually the first video I've recorded since that birth, so I hope it's been all right. This was done kind of quite late at night. A massive thank you to the Stellaris community team for giving me, and as well as some other content creators, but specifically for giving me access to these patch notes a couple of days early, so I actually could find the time over the last 2 days to record this video. It's been done in a couple of sittings. Right now it is 10 minutes past 1 a.m. I'll probably go back to bed in a bit and try and get some more sleep, because I've heard that sleep exists. It's a lie, there is no sleep. Anyway, I am excited for First Contact when it comes out next week. I'm excited to finally get my hands on it and try out Stellaris First Contact, just like all of you lovely people as well. If you've enjoyed this video and you want to find out what on earth all of these new archaeotechs, archaeoweapons, and precursor buildings are that we were talking about a little earlier, then click the video on screen now.